So I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. Have you been watching part of it?
Oh, yes, I have. I've been watching all of it.
Yeah.
It's not easy,
No.
as everybody knows, and
Yeah.
I certainly know, that's for sure.
What was the worst bit of it for you?
You know, Nana, the worst bit has got to be having a full snake put round your body, right the way round you, and then you have a bag over your head,
Right.
and you have to manage it. And when you say it's enough, they'll take the snake off. But if you don't, and you go the whole way, wow, you win the competition.
So you've got a set time to have the thing on you?
Yes.
And it's a boa constrictor, I should imagine?
Yeah, it was, yes.
Or maybe
yes.
it wasn't, but they told you that. You
Yeah,
might
they
not
told
know
me
the
that.
difference.
Well, any snake, a snake is a snake. Yeah.
So what do you think of Matt's performance yesterday? He got 11 stars.
You know, for heaven's sake, he was great. That's what life is all about. How you live your life. This is what we were talking about the last time I was on the show. It's up to you. As long as you adhere to the rules and the regulations, leave him alone.
Well, speaking of rules and regulations, he broke them, didn't he?
He did. He certainly did.
So that's one of the things people are annoyed
Yes.
about him. Also, the release of older people from hospitals to care homes and things like that during the pandemic. There are a few other things he did that people weren't happy with. Does that reflect on him now? In your view, does that stick with you?
Well, no, let's talk about some of the good things he's done as well. It's very well we can all come and say this is what he's done. He's done A, B, C, D. But there were good things he did as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed in his position as long as he has.
Yeah, that is true. But a lot of the things he did. So there was a PPE shortage. Apparently, he didn't get enough PPE, and there was a shortage even before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So people blame him for that as well.
Well, they're going to blame him for that. If he hadn't have done what he did, and I think he put his hand up and he said he was wrong. He said he was wrong, and we all know he was wrong what he did. Everybody agrees with that. But now to start putting everything on him, putting the muck on him on here, and this, he did that, he did this. But there were some good things he did. Otherwise, he would not have stayed there, Nana, for so long.
It's true. The procurement of the vaccines, for example, he took gambles on things that we weren't sure were going to work.
Yeah, and the public were quite comfortable with him at those period of times. If this hadn't have been exposed, then possibly he'd be in his same position, still doing the same, and everybody being praising him.
He's caught on camera. He likes the cameras, does our Matt. Well, I'm also joined by former Conservative Minister Anne Widdecombe, who once famously partnered Anton de Beck on Strictly Come Dancing. So you've done reality stuff yourself, Anne. I do recall watching you on that as well. But, Anne, what do you make of this? He's had the Conservative whip suspended, of course, from him. In your view, has he made a mistake getting involved in this show?
Well, I don't think he should be there for two reasons. The first is he cannot vote while he's in the jungle, and Parliament is in session. It's not in recess. I might take a different attitude if it were recess. And the second thing is constituents' emergencies. Now, I know he's able to be contacted if there's a real emergency in the constituency. But what people don't appreciate is that for individual constituents, what they're contacting their MP about is an emergency to them. And he can't be dealing with every single one. So for that reason, I don't think he should be doing it. But I watched the first one. I thought the whole show was remarkably childish. I thought Ant and Dec are back in the kindergarten. And Matt and Sean Walsh appeared to spend the entire entry into the jungle laughing themselves silly, like very young Boy Scouts. But he's done the things he was asked to do. He got the stars. He led the way when he and Sean had to go down into the burrow. He obviously can laugh at himself. And although I think it is very silly and very childish and that he shouldn't be there, I wouldn't be surprised if the public started to turn. And I'll give you one reason for that. And I was speaking to, I was doing a speaking engagement last night, and I was asked about this. And I said, well, the one thing he doesn't deserve is for the press to be distorting absolutely everything. I read an account the next day that he'd squealed, he'd screamed. He didn't do any of those things. He said, yuck, yeah. But he didn't. He wasn't howling with fear or anything like that. And I think if the press deliberately set out to humiliate him and the public see something very different on their screens, they could just turn in his favour. I would have put absolutely nothing on that at the beginning of all of this, but now I do wonder if he might just pull it off.
I have a feeling he will put it on. Let's bring John back in as well, because I noticed that, John, you were shaking your head at something that Anne said earlier with regard to...
Well, I was surprised because Anne was a little bit strong. I mean, the whole emphasis on the particular show is to make people laugh. It's supposed to be something which is enjoyable. It's for everybody to go, wow, can he do that? You know, I was on the show and nothing was fake at all. Everything was real, what you see. So that's really all. But I understand what Anne's saying.
Yeah, I mean, Anne, the premise of the show is supposed to be, in this awful cost of living crisis, so actually, to be fair, he should really be dealing with that. But Anne also pointed out that, you know, the House is sitting and he should be in there. It's not like a recess or anything.
Correct.
What's your view on that, John?
Oh, no, correct, 100%. I think that he knows himself that whatever he's done now, he's certainly not going to come back. And I don't think that he's got to actually assess where is he going to come back to when he does come back. Because there's very few places are going to accept him back for what he's done.
Well, I think he's going to be on about at least $1 million a year after this, so I don't think he needs to worry about it. And do you think that the reason he did this is because he thinks the Conservatives are toast in the next election?
I think he may well think he is toast, and he may well think that, you know, he hasn't got a political future in front of him, and therefore he's going to build something for when he stands down, if he's going to stand down. But I don't know. We can all speculate on his motives. I mean, it might be something as basic as the money, given that he's got a divorce and, you know, kids to look after and fund. I don't know. I don't know anything about his personal reasoning. And so that is the only answer I can give you. He may be building another career.
Do you think that there should be a rule that says MPs can't do these reality shows whilst they're an MP? Do you think that would be...
I do think there should be a rule that you can't be absent without the permission of the Chief Whip, and indeed there is that. It may not be written down, but I mean it's an understood rule. You get permission if you have to be absent for any reason, for any length of time. And Nadine Dorries lost the whip for precisely the same reason. She went into the jungle, but then she ended up in the cabinet. So maybe Matt's reasoning is that if he comes out of this very popular, maybe he'll also end up back in the cabinet. So far from thinking about standing down, he may think about progressing.
Sorry, Anne, may I ask a straight question? If you had the opportunity to go, would you say yes and do it? Grandchildren, you've got kids, you've got people who love you.
Anne will do it. She'll do it.
Listen, I was asked to do Strictly every single year for 5 years, and I refused while I was an MP. I agreed to do it only when I had actually retired because of the duty of time, and also, let's not forget it, although it's very tempting to in this day and age, there's also a duty of dignity. You owe that to the office of an MP.
Well, Anne Widdecombe, thank you so much for joining us. Really good to talk to you, Anne. Thank you so much. And John, I'm going to come back finally to John then on this one, John. So I'm going to come back to you finally on this. I want to ask you then, with regard to this, do you then think that this will change people's perception of him? Because a lot of people feel very negative about it.
I think there are a lot of people who are negative about him. I think that what Anne is saying is that she's lessening the actual show itself. I think the show should be taken in good value and the fact that it's very short and simple. I think that he's going to come back a different person. Yeah. He must do. But, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a good opportunity for him. And if he knows he's planned already another life for himself, and he's going to continue that way.